Welcome to the River Run Women in Business podcast, where we celebrate the voices, stories, and impact of women shaping business, community, and the future of leadership. Each episode, we sit down with inspiring women who share their journeys, challenges, and wisdom to empower others along the way. Today, I am your host, Leanne Eastman. Thank you for joining us. If you have not already, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the incredible conversations that our podcast is bringing for you. And today's is going to be a treat. We have with us Nicole Hart from Nicole Hart Consulting, and she is just breaking down barriers left and right with her personal brand. And I've personally known Nicole for several years. It's been a privilege to watch her professional journey, but even more importantly, the evolution of her personal brand, which is exactly what we are unpacking with her today. She'll chat about visibility and the cost of not bringing forth your own personal visibility, how to balance that with your corporate identity, and all the things in between. And without further ado, let's welcome Nicole onto the podcast. Nicole, we are here today to talk about unleashing the power of your personal brand. And I guess my first question there is, tell us, what is a personal brand anyway? We all work for companies and sort of align ourselves in that way to our company culture and our company brands. What is a personal brand in that? And tell us.
Such a good question and a perfect place to start. I'm so happy to be here today. So a personal brand is really the curation of your own legacy. So if you think about it, the only thing that transcends every moment in your career, whether you own a company or you're working for a company, is you. Like, you might change positions, you might sell your company, you might create a new company, but the only true constant from start to finish is you. And so a personal brand is really curating that legacy, and it's teaching people who you are. So the foundations of a personal brand are really like why you're doing this work, who you uniquely can support or serve, where your voice needs to be heard, and like what you can speak on with authority. So those are kind of the pillars of a personal brand. And when you ladder all of that up, it's really just about building your own professional equity instead of pouring it into a company that you may love, but might not transcend your entire professional career.
Now, how does that work in complement to a company that you may work for as opposed to in conflict with? Because that's where I'm still curious to know. It feels like it would be in conflict while you're, marketing yourself, so to speak, when you're supposed to be supporting the brand that you work for, I guess.
Yeah. So I think a personal brand is really the container. So if you are working for a company or you're creating your own company, that is kind of like one pillar that lives underneath your personal brand. And I love to think of it as that umbrella, because if you pivot your company's offerings or if you shift roles, that can be confusing if all you've done is talk about that role, that company. And so your personal brand kind of gives context to what you're doing or what you're building. And it's something that I think a lot of employers or founders struggle with, because they're like, the business is most important, the company brand is most important. But people nowadays have a really hard time connecting with a corporate brand that doesn't have a face alongside it.
It's interesting because we here at River Run, we are a holding company for community banks. And in banking, all the community banks have the same products and services. And so it is oftentimes, we talk about this all the time, actually, is that it's our people that are our differentiators. So that's interesting because this is a way to support our people and bringing their personal selves and what is the differentiator to benefit the company, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the magnifier of what someone is doing. But ultimately, as individuals, we each have our own mission and purpose and like reason for showing up to work every day, for the way that we show up in our lives. And I think if a company doesn't enable their staff or their founder to step outside the company brand and say, this is why this exists, this is why I'm showing up like this today, it's you're asking a company brand to do a job that it can never do, which is speak like a human.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's about visibility, right? So for people, is that an accurate statement or?
This is a tricky one. You're so good. You're just getting right into the nooks and crannies of
I'm so
personal
interested in
branding.
this topic. So
I know.
it's like I have so many questions.
It's top of mind for a lot of people for sure. So it is about visibility, but I think that when people hear personal branding, they think, oh, I have to be an influencer. I have to show up and show my coffee run and my vacation pictures and my event recaps. And I think visibility without a clear intention of your purpose or like what you're trying to build can end up just adding more noise to a market that doesn't need more noise. So it's definitely about creating visibility so that people can see you, they can know you, they can love you, trust you, work with you. But I think you have to be very clear first on who am I becoming so that this visibility benefits that. That's really like the crux of personal branding is like, where am I going? Because if you're just building from the current moment, it can feel like you're on this visibility content creation kind of hamster wheel, and that doesn't do anything other than create more work. And ultimately a personal brand is about creating your legacy.
Okay. It's funny. I was on LinkedIn recently. We all have to be on LinkedIn. It's such a necessity in our professional lives.
Yeah.
And I've been following you on LinkedIn and keeping up with your journey. And I had a goal for myself to post once a week on LinkedIn because I'm not a very strong LinkedIn user myself, admittedly. And I've sort of been failing in my goal. But you posted a picture of yourself recently in Italy on a gondola. Yes. And your message, I was like, what a wonderful picture. And your message was so interesting because it triggered a pivotal thought for me, I guess, in that you were like, isn't this such a great picture of me on vacation? I took a break from my, daily life to, take a breather and go on this beautiful trip. But that doesn't necessarily give anyone a reason to call you as a consultant. That doesn't give you any validity in your job and in your role. So tell me more about that concept. Yeah, I thought that post was really insightful.
Thank you so much. That post was about how people think that building a personal brand is about basically creating attention. It's like whoever is like the loudest or the most present is the one that's getting the attention, but people are confusing attention with authority. And so when people start to build a personal brand, say your goal was to post once a week on LinkedIn, what people tend to do is I'm going to share content that I know is going to hit. I'm going to share content that I know people are going to love. And that can be those like dog photos, vacation trips, whatever. But personal branding is half attention and half authority. And so instead of just posting content that people will love, you have to post content that will challenge people to think differently about what they're doing in their own lives, personally or professionally, so that they view you as the person that can get them to their next level.
Okay. That was very interesting to me. So thanks for giving a little background on that. So, so I guess getting back to sort of that like visibility concept and becoming that authority, how do people reframe that thought process? Because it's, especially I'll use LinkedIn again, it can be very uncomfortable to go against the grain of those sort of common photos of, me at an event. I was lucky to attend this event. That's great. It's content that will hit. People that were there will like it. And, oh, that was great. You look great, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not really doing anything for me. So how do you reframe that mindset and sort of to step outside your comfort zone? And what is the cost of that for yourself if you don't?
Yeah. So I think people can kind of easily go through the motions when they're thinking about promoting something outside of their business. But ultimately, your job is to share your mission with like incredible clarity. And so if all you're doing is sharing content that people will love and like, you're kind of diluting your mission and your message. And that's really the one unique thing that you have. So stepping back and thinking about if you're an owner of a company, anyone can talk about, what event they went to, what they're doing in their business, why their services are great, how much their customers love them. But the only true unique differentiator for any business owner is like why you are doing this. And so I think that has to be the fuel for sharing content that is maybe uncomfortable, because if it's in service of your purpose, then that gives you the bravery to talk about it. But people often think before they share, like, I just have to have one more milestone, one more accomplishment, one more certification, and then I'll be brave enough to post. But your purpose and your mission is what gives you the bravery, and that confidence is the reward for sharing and showing up. People think that confidence is what happens before you share and show up, but I'd say that that mission and purpose is probably the greatest reframe for people, because they're like, if not me, then who? Like,
Right.
I have to say this.
Yeah, I think it's oftentimes people probably know what their differentiators are, know what makes them special and unique and qualified, but it's that humility that keeps people from shouting it from the rooftops, and that's essentially what needs to happen to build that personal brand, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and so it's just having to dig deep, I guess, and get there somehow, some way. But I mean, that's what you've made your work out of, is helping people find that. I think it's so interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely a big shift. Even in my own company, for 4 years, I worked to become a better operator. And I thought that creating happy clients was the most important thing. And it was, and it created referral business. But you hit this ceiling, and it's like you're running into a brick wall when you realize that there are other goals, more visibility that you want for your company, and like it can't do that for you. Like, you need to do that for you. And people always realize it a little too late, and they start to think like, oh, I'm the leader of this brand. The brand is not the leader of me.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned a brick wall, and it's oftentimes people feeling like they need to somehow break this wall down to get to the next level, or and so often it's, we sort of like chip away at it the best that we can, and you try to be like an authority in all things. When we were chatting before we got on air here, you mentioned this concept, Sheehan's Wall. I've never heard of this, but it was so interesting. So tell us about that, because I think it's something that's sticking with me for sure. So if you could explain that, because it was new to me for sure.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm so glad that resonated. Yeah, so Peter Sheehan, he has this theory. So there's this wall between like the Amy Porterfields, the Jenna Kutchers, the Tony Robbins, insert XYZ expert here. And then there's everyone else, the whole world. They're like, how the heck do I get over onto that side of the, wall of success, of notoriety, of visibility, whatever. And so, like you said, when someone is kind of faced with a wall, especially as a business owner, you think, I'm going to try this, I'm going to say this, I'm going to talk about that, I'm going to mix that in, we do this, so I'm going to talk about that. And they end up poking the wall, trying to get through. And that's not how you take down a wall. The way that you take down a wall is hitting one spot over and over and over again until you break through. And that's a really big shift for people when they think about their personal brand. Is like, you actually can't be an expert in all things. You have to be the like known authority in one thing. And that's how you end up breaking through. Otherwise, people don't know what to go to you for. Like, they'll be like, she was talking about this one day, they were talking about that another day. I'm kind of lost. Like, your goal with a personal brand is to like magnetize your identity with your community and eventually beyond your community. So they go, oh, she's the one that does insert thing here.
And then all the rest are sort of ancillary benefits. Oh, yes, I also have some knowledge in these other areas, but
yes,
this is where I'm the authority.
Yes, I tend to like when people are like, well, what the heck is that? I think of it as like, have you ever been in a cocktail party and someone brings up something and you're like, ooh, goody, they brought up that thing that I love to talk about. I'm going to corner you. Hope you have a fresh drink, because like we're about to chat. That's what I tend to like push people into, is like the one thing that you could just go on and on about is usually your like lane of authority.
Okay. So this is something I'm curious about. Where do you put yourself? How do you know where to put yourself? Again, my goal here was like, I need to be better on LinkedIn. I should be posting more. And I admittedly have been failing miserably. I take all these pictures at different things. I'm like, that's going to be for LinkedIn. And then I'm about to hit post on it and like, oh, the insecurity factor comes into play. So is LinkedIn the right place for me? Maybe not. Maybe is it a necessary evil? And then, how do you know where to put yourself as you're embarking on this personal brand evolution for yourself?
Yeah. So you just brought up two really important things. The first is that like inner critic and sometimes imposter syndrome that comes up before you're visible. And everyone has that. It's just the people who are voices in their industry that people listen to. They're the ones who were like, I don't care. Like, I don't care what you think. I don't care if you like this or not. Like, I like this. I feel good about this. And so that's something that can help. Like, you just have to kind of, like, buck up, buttercup. You got to post the post. So that's one thing. And then the other, your question was about can you repeat your question?
Sure. It was sort of just like, how do you know where to put yourself? So, LinkedIn's an easy one to use because, we all know we got to be there, I guess.
Yeah.
But where else? Like, how else do you place yourself in these moments, and where you should be, or where you think you should be anyway?
Perfect. So the best way to think about where you need to be as a personal brand is taking a step back and thinking, where are my people? Like, where are the people that I'm most uniquely positioned to help? And what people tend to lean into is like they're an earlier version of you. So you have immense authority in helping an earlier version of you because you have learned these lessons. And so you can turn back, hand your hand out and say, all right, I know where we're going. Come on. And that's something that kind of like diverging for a second, there is this authority ladder that people are climbing, and they think I have to get to the top of this authority ladder before I can even speak. But ultimately your job is you're helping someone who's one rung lower than you on the ladder.
Okay.
So that's how you kind of think about like who your people are, and then you decide, where are they? Like if you hate Twitter, X, whatever they're calling it now, then like don't go there. If your people are, say your ideal client is more like professional services, if they're attorneys or accountants, whatever it is, then you just have to think about like where are they spending their time and where are they most open to receiving insight from someone like me. And so I think there's this like top-down approach where people are like, oh, I have to be here to reach this person, but you kind of have to flip it and think about like, where are my people spending their time, and then go there. So for you, I think LinkedIn is the perfect spot. But there's also an energetic component where if you just don't like being in one place, like that comes through in your content. People can feel if you're like, I have to do this again. Like maybe then just like don't do that and put your energy into something like maybe it's starting a podcast or doing a vlog or hopping on stories and Instagram if you love to like chat and you're out and about. So it's half where are your people, and the other half is like where do I just kind of naturally embody my purpose and my personal brand.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
Now you have an accountability buddy for LinkedIn.
I'm like, oh no, it's another week. I have to post again.
I get it.
But it's funny because I admire so many people that I see out there very frequently as experts, and I see them that way, and so it's all clicking. Which maybe I'm behind the times here, but it's clicking. Everything you're saying is. It's exactly what certain people I've been following all along have been doing. And it's very interesting because it's sort of like I see where they're going, and they're moving along in their careers and their lives in a certain way that I've been long admired, thinking that they're killing it out there, and they are. And it's also because they're putting this focus on themselves in a certain way.
Yeah.
So,
I think they're sharing their wins and they're sharing where they're going, which is back to that, like, who am I becoming? So like, if you don't know the 5-year version of you, where that person is going, then it's going to feel kind of like wishy-washy when you're showing up publicly. But if you're like, I know in 5 years, I'm the person who's going to be on a panel at South by Southwest. I know in 5 years, I'm going to be the one who is getting like national press, name in Forbes, whatever. Then it shapes how you show up. You kind of like have to hold space for that version of you so that you can get to that 5-year vision.
Yeah, and you said that keyword that everyone loves so much in business is accountability. But it really is, it's being accountable to the most important one, and that's yourself.
Yeah.
And doing right by yourself at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
And we always say, there's that old adage that it's for training, but it sort of applies here too, where it's, what if we train all these people and they leave? And then it's like, but what if you don't and they stay? And it's the benefit to your company of investing in your people and giving them the opportunity to be their best selves and promote those best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
That's a benefit to the company you work for as well. So,
Totally.
you don't have to be an entrepreneur to, adopt this concept for yourself.
Yeah.
It's a benefit to your company. It's in complement of, not in conflict of.
Totally. I think it creates a sense of closeness too, whether you're an employer or a founder. When you carve that lane for yourself through your personal brand, it makes you feel kind of like bulletproof, because you are like, I'm talking about this. This is who I am. This is what I care about. And the company is still like doing what it's designed to do, which is like be the marketing vessel for your services. But there were times when I was building Heart Brand Studio where I was like, I want to talk about this, but it doesn't feel on brand. And it was like, well, because it's not, it's like, it's on brand for me. And so there definitely is that like separate swim lane that you create through your personal brand, that creates a lot of closeness, because it's a place to share your wins, but it's also a place to share your losses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think the business community needs more of, because it can be a very lonely journey, to the top, wherever the top is for you at this current moment. And so there have been moments I've shared, like, in building a business, like I hit this low, or like this happened to me, and there's been this outpouring of support and people being like, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Like I had a moment just like that. And it makes you feel less alone.
Yeah, that's nice, because it's the reality. It's not all roses, right? It's everyone's experiences those things in their different realms and in different ways, but it makes you relatable and real and authentic. So
yeah, people want to do business with people, and that's why River Run and Pawtucket Bank and its other subsidiaries, like when the person that you're doing business with outside of the brand, it just creates a connection that like no corporate brand can do on its own.
Right. Oh, I love this. We could talk all day. I swear, this has been so wonderful. And I guess, as a wrap up to our conversation, what would be maybe, one key takeaway if someone's listening and they are inspired to, fine tune their personal brand? Where do you start?
That's a great question. I think first you have to just decide that you're doing it, and you have to hold yourself accountable, because there are a couple of gaps that people can run into when they start to like claim their authority in their space. So you just have to decide, like, I'm the one who's going to talk about this. I'm the one who's going to say this. I'm showing up. And then after you do that, then I think it's about shaping the vision. I'm a very visual person, and so where I started was Pinterest. Like I went to my Pinterest board and I created a Nicole Hart board, and I had a section for like the 5-10 year version of me, professionally, personally, style, like whatever felt kind of like that next spot I wanted to sit in. I created my Pinterest board, and then seeing that made me think, okay, next I need to hire a personal stylist, or next I need to start reaching out to reporters or event speaker. It kind of gives you the next pathways to start moving towards or moving down. So yeah, Pinterest is not just for recipes, it's for personal brands as well.
I love it. That's an easy place to start, a fun place to start too, that could be very valuable. So that's a good one. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, I know that our listeners and viewers here are going to want to know where they could follow along on your journey. So tell us, where are you? Where can we find you online? How do they look you up and potentially reach out if they have some interest in your services?
Thank you so much. You can find me everywhere online on the interwebs at the Nicole Hart. That's my website. That's my LinkedIn title. my Instagram handle. So yeah, the Nicole Hart is where they can connect, and I would love to connect with them too. Thank you so much for
Thank
this
you.
time.
Oh my gosh, this has been so wonderful. We appreciate you so much. Best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. I'd love that.
Thanks.